effective and all that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Ray Esports Club Racing League. This is round number 2 for group number 2, coming to you tonight from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. My name is Ron Maunz, and alongside me in the commentary booth for tonight is Charles Boshell. Well, Charles, we're here at the newer version of the Roval. This track is fun. I always enjoy the Roval. Certainly my graphics card will not be a fan of this track here, but I think we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, I think so. In for a really good doubleheader tonight with the venerable Ford Mustang FR 500S, one of the old classic cars here at iRacing, and then following up with the Spec Miata. So looking forward to a good doubleheader tonight. 2 30-minute races, and sure to be some really good racing involved in this, as we're under qualifying here for our Ford Mustang race. And as you can see, qualifying time's already coming up. But yeah, looking forward to it. I haven't driven the new Roval configuration. I got my, funnily enough, I got my first iRacing warning here at Charlotte on the Roval, doing an unofficial race, ironically enough. smack that wall coming out one of the final corners before you get back on the NASCAR section of track, and caused wheel damage and decided to run around the apron. Somebody did not like that, reported me, and then, hey, here's my first warning. So congratulations.
You know, I can actually join you in that brigade and say that I got a verbal warning many moons ago. So this was back in, I think 2020 it was. I was running in the league for the Philly region of the SCCA, which I've been a member of for going up to nearly 12 years at this point, and decided to run the winter series. And I should note at this point in time that the Philly SCCA are the organizers of the Liberty Bell series that you can catch here on slow motion broadcasting sporadically on Sundays. I say that knowing fully well that I'm about to share the story of how I decided to get myself not kicked out of the series per se. I kicked myself out. So it was a Skip Barber race. It was before they instituted the track limits on the apron. So me and my buddy Robbie were running on the apron, getting some fantastic lap times, and we were running up towards the front. Even once everybody else started doing it, we were running good in those Skip Barber cars that night. And I was contending for a podium when I went side by side with a driver that I will not name, and they right hooked me into the wall and flipped me heading into the chicane. So I responded in kind by going out there on the racetrack and doing exactly to them what was done to me by them. And I was told under no uncertain terms at the next event that I should not have done that, and I will still continue to contend to this day. As much as that would be a move that I would pan if I was in the booth, I would still do that in the sim. I wouldn't be proud of it, but you know, an eye for an eye or something like that.
Yeah, Ron in the red mist. And yeah, I get it. You know, and that's one of those, that was when it was not this, no, it wasn't the letter of the law, but it was the spirit of the law. Don't run down on the apron. Yeah. So, you know, and then, yeah, as you said, eye for an eye. Is retribution rears its ugly head as we're continuing here with qualifying. Ian Anderson currently sitting on pole with a 133.552. Miles Crabb in the second. Matt Thompson in third. Will Pierre just now jumping up into the fourth position with Kyle Robertson in fifth. Then we got us a nice little 21 car grid tonight. So should make for some pretty interesting racing. Obviously, we haven't really talked about this track very much, but the inside, I guess the infield section is really tough, really demanding, and not good for some side-by-side racing, but you have to be very careful through some sections.
Yeah, and the changes that were made to this track, of course, there are changes that have been made to the infield. There was a bit more of a boxy section where it felt like an alleyway whenever you would come in and leave the infield. Now, however, they have changed it a little bit, and we'll be able to exemplify that change. Riding on board with Matt Thompson, the 133 car, one of the drivers from the Frito Sports stable, and you'll be able to catch these Mustangs not too far from now in the American Muscle Series when that returns on January 13th. But here is the change. You can see the break off in the road and the hairpin here. This was added in for the NASCAR Cup Series and just all the NASCAR ranks back in 2024. And I honestly think it is a good change. The sweeper beforehand that I have gotten the opportunity to drive, that is a surprisingly fun section of racetrack. Now, granted, if you go off there at certain speeds, you will find a way to completely ruin a car, but you know, it is still quite enjoyable if you get it right.
Yeah, and this, you know, you said this that they've made that configuration change for the NASCARs. This is probably the car that's probably as close to the current NASCARs as you're going to find on iRacing without actually being on an oval. These are some very old cars. You know, it's very much H pattern shifter. You know, compliant. Lots of body roll on these cars. Lots of sliding around. It really is really tough to keep that car under control. You know, the infield section has a lot of you know, direction changes as well as braking and throttling changes on some elevated sections there. So it makes it a little tricky to get this car. You're going to have a very clean line through there, and you really got to put some laps in to get this car kind of nailed down. But it's going to make for some really exciting racing, especially when we get started here. And the first time these cars go through, I guess, turn one into that infield section off of the start-finish line, it's going to be very, very tight quarters there to start the race.
Yeah, so it's going to be a very tough start. I mean, these Mustangs are some of the biggest cars that we have in the entirety of this league. I think the GT4s may come close, and there is a brand new Mustang in the GT4 ranks here in the sim. But even then, it is still a very tough car to try and manage. Super enjoyable. They put on some good racing as well, you know, whether it be here in round 1 of the second group here in the Ray Esports Club Racing League a couple of months ago when we were running at Summit Points. I remember being on that call with another one of our SMB colleagues, Howie Burrows. That race was pretty enjoyable, even though that track's a bit more on the narrow end. This track, they always compare it to a street circuit, especially on the infield, and this... Charlotte Roval, of course, a fascinating circuit in the world of American racing, and the Roval is no exception, as we see Chuck Labano getting a little bit donut practice in before we get too far off into this.
Yeah, that's the other side effect of this car as qualifying has ended is those curbs, those the temporary curbs that get put in in that little chicane there at the end of the lap. Very difficult. You can't take too much of that. As you can see, what happens is going to just upset the car and you're going to spin. And that is the end of qualifying. So we're going to have our grid come up here very, very soon. And there it is. So Miles Crabb sits on pole, 133.010. Ian Anderson outside of row 1, sitting in second. Matt Thompson starts in third. Kyle Robertson starting in fourth. Will Pierre starts in P5. Chuck Labano starting in 6th, Josh Justice starting in P7, Aaron Bray starts at 8th, Michael Brennan starts in P9, and Seth Spolman rails out your top 10.
Yeah, I just realized we have a full starting grid, so we could probably talk in slow motion here for this.
We can.
Yeah, Edgar Sancinelli is going to start this race in P11. Alongside him will be Lucas Bachmann in the number 51 car, looking on 13th place. It will be Brandon Carl, who I saw on the YouTube chat a little bit earlier on, letting us know that we are live here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Apologies in the slight delay before the 5-minute countdown, by the way. I had to make some graphical changes because this track is not my graphics card's favorite, which I'll touch on here momentarily. And in the process of all that, iRacing didn't want to work for me for a couple of moments, but we are back. We're good. Brendan Carr going to start this race in lucky spot P13. Joe Cicchetti will start alongside in 14th place. Charles Boley will start in P15 alongside Jensen Boley. So an all Boley row number 8. Bowie Swen will start this race in P17 alongside Zach Miller in 18th. Joaquin Effinger will start this race in 19th with Ryan Dixon in 20th, and John A. Casey rounding out your 21 car starters here for the second round of group number 2 action here from the Ray Esports Club Racing League. And Charles, through all the challenges, I think overall there's just going to be a very fun night.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I'm going to stop here for just a minute as we've got a little bit of time and thank our sponsor for tonight's event, Flood Ford of East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Was checking them out, looking at their website, got a couple of nice looking cars. If you're in a mood for a Bronco or a Mustang, if they've got some nice new and pre-owned Mustangs out there. I did see a Dodge Challenger that I was kind of spying there, low miles, 392 Hemi Scat Pack. So it's like, yep, I'll have to give those guys a call. It's going to be a tough drive to get that delivered from Rhode Island to Alabama, but who knows? They may do it if you give them the right amount of money.
Now I'm trying to think of some wild trips that I've gone on in my karting days. I think I've shared this one before. So this was when I got my second kart. This was back in 2015, 2016. I think it was late 2015. Drove out to Lancaster, which for me at the time, I felt like that was the longest trip that had ever been taken by man. I was there in the back seat of the Jeep just being like, where in the world is this? Because I was told under no uncertain circumstances that we were going there for fireworks. And that kart that we got most certainly was fireworks, just for the competition back in my karting days. Before we get the green flag here, I do want to share the story. So I'm going to preface this by saying if it looks a little bit jittery when the field heads their way off through the through the newer sections of this track. That's because my computer is running at full capacity to try and render this place. It is a very well done scan, but a very detailed scan. About 3 months and some change ago here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, our coverage of the 46th Weekend Warriors Virtual Runoffs, I was on production and commentary duties for that, and we were running here at the Roval right after it got brought out, and even with the lowest graphics settings, it fried my graphics card. The one fan that was on it just stopped completely. So I am keeping my fingers crossed that we don't have that go on here tonight. I don't have to produce again until Sunday, but I'm hoping that there hasn't have to be another $350 graphics card purchase here. But about to get things up and rolling from this race of the season here. Already getting the green flag all through the chicane. This is going to be a very jumbled up start, but the green flag flies. The drivers are on their way, and Miles Crab gets off to a flyer of a start with Ian Anderson right in tow.
Yeah, absolutely. Good start by Crab to get the lead. Anderson in tow in second place. Matt Thompson tucks into third. Kyle Robertson, Will Pierre, your top five as we get the first lap underway. Don't see anything happening, so good clean start by everybody in the field. Haven't had any issues thus far. Just a couple of movers in the mid-pack.
Yeah, some movers and shakers throughout this field, but everybody got off to a smooth start with Miles Crab still up at the front. Well, look at some drama maybe going on a little bit farther behind. Joe Cicchetti actually battling with Jensen Boley as they head their way off through the mid-sector. That's a driver running wide. That's Lucas Bachman, I believe. Actually, no, that's Charles Boley running off the track. My apologies. Quick trip off into the grass. Nothing major there. Sancinelli actually getting past another car, so scything his way through the field already up 2 spots from where he started, and he hasn't even gotten to the end of the lap. I think Frito is always a driver that we have to keep tabs on here on these Mustangs.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's looking good, and great looking paints by the Frito Sport guys, running nose to tail there. Nice matching paints, but a little bit of difference between the two cars as we see the third one creeping in there as well. That's I believe that's Lucas Bachman that's just behind Brandon Carr, sorry, Seth Spolman. So the Frito Sport guys are starting to gang up in the mid-pack. So we'll see a couple other guys working their way up as well. Good start by everybody. Once again, nice and clean. We're going to start getting this run going. And as we get through, I think we're going to start seeing maybe some, maybe a few spins, a couple of dives that don't quite work out on those curbs. And I think we'll start seeing some rear tire wear as we move on into this race. You got to be very smooth on this throttle. As you can see, these cars roll into the corners. They roll through the corners. They roll out of the corners. And if you carry too much speed, you're rolling off into the grass. And then when you just try to get back on that oval, I saw a couple of cars as they were working their way through, starting to be a little tail happy when they get back on throttle. So that'll be something I have to keep an eye on for the remainder of the race.
Yeah, that's going to be very, very tricky to try and manage throughout. Everybody is going to be running at 10/10s here and trying to battle the track as much as they're battling their competitors. This is a brutal racetrack in the sim and in real life as well. So everybody got to have their own little bits of worry, bits of concern to keep in the back of their head throughout this race. So looking at some battling going on all throughout this field. This is one involving the likes of Will Pierre, Chuck Labano, and Josh Justice. Now, this may get a little bit trickier to keep tabs on when Will Pierre and Josh Justice are running right around each other, considering that both of them run pretty much the exact same shade of blue and the exact same shade of black. I don't think there can be other shades of black. Black is black no matter what it is. However, once those two drivers get close to one another, we may start to have our own questions be raised in the broadcast booth whether or not we should go out and get our glasses prescription changed, as Pierre trying to apply a little bit of pressure to Kyle Robertson, and in the midst of that, he and Chuck Labano just both picked up a slowdown. So, who's going to be very happy about that news? It's going to be Josh Justice right behind.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's going to have to be very careful there. These guys are going to have to bleed some speed off as they work their way out of turn 2 and down into the infield section. Will Pierre is able to get his cleared, and finally we got Chuck Labano getting his cleared. And we'll say, yeah, that is pretty close on the Labano, or the Justice and Pierre cars, or Justice and Robertson cars, I should say. Very, very similar blue. Obviously, Will Pierre there has the Shelby stripes, and Josh Justice does have the full hood in the blue. kind of a half and half, which is, you've seen Josh Justice in any of our events here in Ray Esports. That's pretty much his normal paint scheme is blue and black with that number 99 prevalent. So he's doing a good job, as we see now Joaquin Effinger down at the bottom with a meatball flag. He's obviously had something happen somewhere. We'll see if we can get Ron to squirrel up a replay for us. And as
he already
excuse me. So, yeah, he's already kind of broken that car. So we'll get another look here as we're in through 3 and just too far into the wall, like maybe a wheel lock up or something, and just couldn't get the car to rotate around. And into that barrier he goes, and that barrier obviously softer than Armco, but not that soft. And so he's going to have to come in and get that car repaired. As well, we get to spin there. That Chuck Romano around coming out of that final. When we saw that just at the end of qualifying, Chuck did the exact same thing at the end of his qualifying run, and did it again here during the race, and just catching too much of that curb in that temporary chicane there before the start-finish line, and loops the car around. Luckily, no contact with anybody. He's able to recover it, but he's dropped all the way down to P13.
And that was another change made to this racetrack as a result of NASCAR. It was that chicane. They tightened it up a little bit. You'll be able to get a good view of it as we ride on board with Chuck Labano. You'll see a massive chunk of the racing surface taken away as he checked up big time through it. I think the curb mainly did that there. I think he hit the curb, spun up the rear tires, and around he went. There was also a moment from Jensen Boley. This, I think, was a bit more substantial. Yes, it was. That was on, okay, I thought that was on pit exit for a second. As had to tow back to pit lane as a result of that, and we'll have to take a look at another replay. Reel that back a bit more, because I think there is a bit more to meet the eye here.
Yeah, we got also Zach Miller, so let's see if Zach finds his way into this as well. He's got a meatball also. As we go through turn 1, that was a little too much curb there, and you just see the car never settled back down. He could not get the car back under control after bouncing over that curb, and into the wall he goes. And so that's going to be a meatball flag and a trip to the pits for Mr. Boley. As we also once again have Zach Miller in the pits with the meatball as well. Looks like Effinger's already got his service done, and he's back out on the track running in 19th. As we're back on board here, as we see there is Zach Miller. And that looks like, is that turn 1 also? Kind of looks like turn 1 as well. So we're going to see here, coming out of the final chicane, heading down to the start-finish line, and he's going to make that run down into turn 1. So he's going to get that car squared up and turned in, and just carries too much speed through there, loses the rear, and just can't get it back. And around he goes into the wall. And so that's going to be the front end damage that's enough to cause him to come in for service.
Yeah, and one thing to raise about this racetrack as we continue to see the battling out there on the circuit. This is Lucas Bachman, Joe Cicchetti right in front, and Brandon Carl down the inside of him with a dive into the hairpin. This track is one of the, I think, only rovals in the entirety of the world, for that matter, that has elevation change thrown into the midst of it. So as you head your way out of through turn number 1, take Daytona as an example. Obviously, high bank track that even as you're heading out of the tri-oval. But the main elevation change is just the transitioning from the banking of the oval down onto the apron. You just slam the shock absorbers completely on your car. Here, however, you have that going on to a slightly lesser degree because the banking is lesser here. But you also have the worry about the fact that it starts to go uphill as soon as you get in there. So it's basically like you're driving through a bowl. You have the track falling away from you through the turn. And then whether or not you have it crossed up a little bit, as soon as it starts to gain up, that grip is just going to get cranked up. And you're going to find yourself in for a world of hurt. So of all the rovals, both in real life and in the sim, I feel like Charlotte Roval turn number 1 may be one of the more challenging ones.
I think you may be right. Oh, as we see Brandon Carl around it, and looks like turn 1 has got himself another victim, as Carl is now around into the inside wall there at turn 1. Do not see a meatball pop up yet. Hang on there. Don't. Watch out. Oh, he just toes back. He just said, nope, I got to get out of the way. Probably very smart by Brandon there to just tow back to the pits and let that line clear for the cars coming through. And we do see Jensen Boley now with a black flag. So I'm going to say that may be for, I don't see any off tracks. So is that going to be instant points for contact with the barriers? surely that's not, he hasn't done that much. I think the car would be pretty much junk at this point. So not sure, maybe it was a pit speeding or something like that. So we'll see if we can get some information on that. But we'll continue on here with the race as Bowie is back on the track and running around in P19. Did see a couple of incidents there with, is it going to be a pit speeding on exit? Let's see.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking here, because I don't believe these cars have pit lane speed limiters.
Yeah, I think he just realized it. I think he just realized, whoa, I'm going way too fast here. And yep, that's going to be a pit speeding on exit. That's going to be, I think, a 25-second penalty. He's going to have to come back down and serve that within 3 laps, so that's going to be a disqualification. As we're coming around, as he's coming around for the, I think, maybe the second time, you see the car still just a little rough there. As he just pulls over and parks it. So he's going to tow it back, and that's going to be probably race done for Jensen tonight, unfortunately. So we see Miles Crabb now working his way around. Joaquin Effinger there, lap car, as they're working their way down in through turn, is that 6 or 7? Maybe 7, as they work their way back onto the NASCAR oval. And Anderson there in tow. Not a lot of movement here. Anderson has managed to keep about a half-second gap between him and Crabb for the entire race, and they have pulled the gap on Kyle Robertson up to 2.5 seconds and climbing a little bit more. So they got themselves quite a nice lead. Just got to keep that car under control through these chicanes, and I think we're going to be in for a nice little battle at the finish. Still only a little over 10 minutes gone in the race. Still 2/3 of the race still to go, as we've already seen our share of trouble tonight, especially in turn 1.
Yeah, so turn 1 being a point of trouble. The infield section proving to be a bit of a handful as well. I think that chicane can be a bit of a pain in the rear end too, as Ian Anderson will learn that the hard way. Slow down penalty for him. That's not the first driver we've seen in this race pick up a slowdown. May not have been the last of the past couple of moments. Sean Casey with a slowdown penalty. That's actually heading through the backstretch chicane. See, that's the thing that iRacing drivers have to worry about, even more than the drivers in real life. Usually whenever the NASCAR series run here, they have to worry about missing the chicane and having to stop somewhere. On iRacing, the slowdown penalties, I think, are even more brutal, because I would rather just say, okay, let me flat-footed through the chicane knowing fully well that I have to stop at some point, instead of, oh yeah, I went an inch too far in, and as a result of that, not only has my car basically dropped off a cliff as a result of hitting the killer curbs around this racetrack, I now have to drop down so much that I'm basically in no man's land in the case of Anderson.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, you do see the slowdowns there, and it looks like both chicanes are dealing some problems out tonight, both with slowdowns and with spins, to go along with the turn 1 drama that we've seen already thus far. But Anderson has dropped off. Obviously, you see the slowdown has kind of cost him about a second on track, so now he's got some work to do to get back up there, and that's allowed Robertson to close the gap as well, as we see the Hoonigan-inspired Cookie Monster livery on Anderson's car. That's pretty nice. I like that. God,
that's fantastic.
I can't even come up with a word. That's cookie good. I don't know. We'll see. But either way, he's slowly losing a little more time to Crabb. Crabb able to get away and set sail and can focus forward, as opposed to keeping one eye on the mirror. He can look ahead and start trying to run his line, and that's going to make it very difficult for Anderson to catch back up. As don't see anything really other little battles, as Will Pierre is now still only about 6 tenths behind Robertson, running in 3rd and 4th, and Josh Justice is now closing the gap up to Michael Brennan, and that is going to be a battle for P6. And then Bowie Swin is chasing down Lucas Bachman, and that is going to be a battle for P12. Those are your closest battles on the track so far.
See, it would be a time like this where I would bring up the best battles graphic that Mr. Guido Marzuki usually has for the Weekend Warriors show. However, Guido has more technical ability in a production truck than I think I will ever know. And he also knows how to pronounce Italian names that I don't.
He does.
Yeah, I will never forget the Imola broadcast for the Spec Race Fords. Both me trying to pronounce Piratella and having Guido just butcher me in the commentary booth. Also, me opening that broadcast and saying that we were racing at Monza, I think I'd been on the broadcast for like 8 hours beforehand. So like mentally, I was on a different planet.
Whoa.
Oh, that's gonna be a swaparoo with Lucas Bachmann, all sorts of crossed up, heading all through the chicane. He's gonna lose out on that spot. Yeah, I think I'd been on the air for a disgusting amount of time, even by my own low standards. And I was like, what track are we racing at? Imola, got it. Monza. At least I didn't say a track that isn't on iRacing. It's like, oh yeah, this round number whatever of the season coming to you today from Vallelugna. That would have gone over poorly.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the folks who are listening in that don't always get to hear to see the Weekend Warriors broadcasts, it is my personal joy to hear Ron and Guido arguing during the broadcast because you guys only hear half of it. I get to hear all of it, and it's absolutely hilarious. And it's almost like you don't even have to pay me. I just get to hear this going on for the next 2 hours, so it's fantastic.
It's like two mental patients arguing. Guido, I love you. I love you, buddy. Don't worry.
It is indeed. As we're on here at Lucas Bachmann, we saw him earlier. Just kind of missed that first chicane and allowed Bowie Swin to get by. Who's that slow there that was just behind him? Was that Seth Bowman? Was that a lap down car that was just kind of out of the way? As we're going to see, no, that was Effinger. Yeah, he's just getting lapped by the mid pack and was very, very sportsmanlike, just clearing the lane, letting these guys work their way through, and continuing with his race. As we're back up here and you see the battle starting to pick up a little bit more between Roberts and Pierre. That gap is starting to close, and Anderson now 2 laps in a row, fastest lap of the race, 1:32.8 last lap, and he's got that gap up to Crab under a second again. So he's starting to put the foot down and starting to close that gap back up to the lead.
Yes, as we continue to keep our eyes on these battles, want to once again thank Flood Ford for sponsoring this broadcast here for the Mustangs in round number 2 for group number 2 of the Ray Esports Club Racing League. And say that if you're enjoying this broadcast, oh, nope, that's the wrong graphic there. Happy to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. We'll take a look at some of the upcoming shows a little bit later on. That was a bit preemptive there. See, most of the producers have the benefit of having a little button box so they can press whatever sort of graphic they want. I just have a wall of one monitor with a whole lot of different pixels to try and press, which is an interesting test in its own regard. This production stuff, I will say, folks, as much as I joke about it, it is very fun to do, honestly. I think producing, commentating as well is super fun, because if I want to say, oh, yeah, here's a battle going on between Kyle Robertson and Will Pierre, let's ride on board with the drivers, you know what? I can. I can control all. No one man should have all this power.
Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility there, Ron. So let's keep it focused. But yeah, great battle here between Roberts and Pierre. Pierre really starting to close this gap down now, under 4/10. Basically 2 car lengths behind as they're working their way through 1 down into 2. As they're going to go through the infield section here, and you see Pierre really just trying to keep that tight as possible, looking for any kind of opportunity he can find to get past Robertson. So they're working their way down this little short straight here in the middle of the infield, and he's going to look to make that move, and he's just going to take one little slip up by Robertson there, and Pierre is going to be by, and then the shoe will be the only other foot, as they say. Now Anderson, as I look ahead, that's very close. Almost a little touch there coming out of the infield back onto the oval section. Anderson has now got the gap down to under 6/10. So he is now really starting to close that gap off to Miles Crab up in the lead. So these are going to be two really nice battles up here for the front of the field as we're just now across the 18-minute mark, almost 18 and a half minutes.
Whew.
All the times to run into a sneezing fit. It has to be during the broadcast there, Ron. So sorry about the quick delay there as I find my mute button on my microphone. And we'll have to put the button box on Santa's Christmas list for you.
Yeah, that that may be a goal, or I'll volunteer for like 500 broadcasts and put that money towards groceries as I usually do, and put the rest of that towards the bun box. That would be a nice little upgrade. 1 year ago, I got this brand new microphone that I've got, and it's done me wonders thus far. As we just saw swap row, I think something may have happened with Miles Crab. I'm trying to figure out exactly what the deal was. He may have slowed heading out of turn number 1. We're going to take a look at this from Ian Anderson's perspective, right on board with him, get a good idea as to what may have happened with Crab. He hit the curb, ran a little bit wide. Oh, he tagged the fence. Yeah, he tagged the wall.
Scraping the wall. Yeah, absolutely. Just a little scrape of the wall. Just ran a little too wide down into 1, and that was all that Ian Anderson needed to jump into the lead. So now Crab is going to have to do the chasing for a bit with about 10 minutes left to go in the race. And so now he's got to find his way around Anderson if he wants to get that victory. You know, we kind of joked with Miles before as he had this string, as I was doing the Ray Esports last season. He had this string of second-place finishes. It seemed like he was just always at second place and never quite got the win. He did actually get a win, I believe, last week in one of the races. So he's got that monkey off his back, but I know obviously he's going to be looking to try and get another one, trying to double this up as Pierre and Robertson still going at it. And that gap now is closed out even more up to Miles Crab. So Crab has got to really focus forward here. 1.4 up to Anderson in first place as they work their way into the chicane. And on their way out, saw a little, maybe a little tire smoke, maybe a lock up there by Crab as he was coming down into the chicane, but managed to get it cleared, but lost a couple of tenths as they worked their way down into the second chicane at the start-finish line. Get a good view here of the scrape that Crab had, is kind of scuffed the paint a little bit on that right rear as they worked their way down through turn into the infield section once again, through 3, down in the straightaway into 4, and then back up the hill, and then you see the gap up. And there's a move to the inside. That's Robertson going to the inside of Crab. Crab running wide, giving them plenty of room. And now 3 wide going through the corner there as not only is Robertson making a move, but Will Pierre as well as they're coming their way through the corner here, heading out back onto the oval. And all 3 cars just battling very hard. You see Crab sideways there. He's in a drag race now with Will Pierre as Kyle Robertson has jumped his way up into P2.
Yeah, so slick and opportunistic stuff there from Kyle Robertson. Miles Crab clinging on to dear life, essentially, as he heads his way off through into the chicane. Will Pierre now gets that top spot over Crab, so that's going to be another spot loss for him, now down 3 from where he started in this race. In the meantime, as all of that drama has gone on, at what one point was looking to be a battle for that top spot, has turned into a runaway from Ian Anderson as a 3.1, nearly 3.2 second gap that he holds on to starting the 16th lap of this race. Only 8 minutes left to go here, but Ian Anderson certainly running in the comfort zone. The Cookie Monster not having to worry about having his crumbs stolen.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, he's got a nice, comfortable gap up, 2.8 seconds back to Robertson in second. It kind of makes me wonder if Crab maybe has done a little, maybe that was a little bit harder hit than I thought. It didn't look like much as he was coming through 1, but maybe he may have a little wheel damage that's keeping him from getting his outright pace here in this Ford Mustang. And that's really starting to hurt him. I don't see anything. Like I said, it didn't look like it was that much as far as it looked like just maybe some scraping on the side of the car. But and I don't see anything that's just overt as far as maybe a wheel alignment or a suspension issue. But definitely has lost a little bit of pace in the car. Now as I'm looking at the replay, I'm trying to look to see if I see a little left hand or right hand down, and I don't really see any of that either. So it kind of looks like the front end's at least straight. So I'm not sure about maybe some right rear damage that's preventing him from keeping his pace, but obviously has dropped off since he had that little smack of the wall through turn 1.
Yeah, it's rather fascinating to see how quickly the pace has fallen off for him. I'm actually going to take a look at a replay from his perspective, and yeah, looking at that car, I think what may genuinely have taken place is I think he may have just shredded the tires because
Yeah, that's possible.
it's looking like suspension wise. It's actually I say that it's that car. Yeah, that
Yeah,
car is looking really squirrely. Unless the
yeah.
tires are worn down to the canvas, Miles Crab is that car is essentially driving around like a sphinx that's been doused in itching powder.
Yeah, we were looking at the right rear, had a good look at that and saw the scrape marks, but I'm now seeing a lot more damage in the right front. So that may be where the issue is. Is it just like now the car is just ill handling and not wanting to perform up to the potential that it has as we're on the left front here. And I'm looking at least on my screen and I'm seeing the gyro cam from the inside there, and that you really can't tell anything from the steering wheel. So it doesn't look like there's a lot, but obviously it's enough that it's really starting to damage the handling of his car as he's working his way down into the first chicane here. And just a nice little run, nothing real major there, but you know, obviously there's something going on that's keeping him from keeping up with the top three because he's dropping like a rock. He's down 5 seconds to Will Pierre in third.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, if I am being honest. I think it's his tires may be worn down to the canvas. I think he may be dealing with some damage as Lucas Bachmann gonna send it off into the turn. Not gonna work well for him. It's gonna give him one thing, that being a slowdown, and it's going to give Seth Spolman one thing as well, and that's 13th. So Bachmann butting off a little bit more than he could chew, hang down to the braking zone. Very easy mistake to make, though, here in these Mustangs. I wonder now, this has got me thinking, what are the heaviest cars on iRacing? I feel like these have got to be somewhat of a solid mention, because even though they are race cars, it's a Mustang. It's American manufacturing. We're going to make a car that should be weighing about, I don't know, 2,500 pounds and make it weigh 4,500 pounds.
Yeah, I would say this is probably going to be one of the heavier ones as this is about, when we talk about GT3s and GT4s, they say the GT3 is about 80% race car and 20% road car, and then vice versa for the GT4s. It's 20% race car and 80% road car. These cars are about 93% road car with an extra, half ton of roll cage built into it. So it's these cars are definitely on the heavy side, especially the fact that they're probably also about 15 years old or something like that. So that's going to have something to do with it as well. They don't have quite the new space age components. I would think there's probably zero carbon fiber on these cars. It's all going to be steel and aluminum.
Yeah, you can say one thing for sure. It's not made out of space-age materials. It's something that you can make in your backyard. Probably not, but, it's... If your backyard is a garage with some access to old Mustang parts, you'd probably be able to make one of these. But, the backyard I have in the city of Philadelphia can't even house a shed, let alone a race car in a garage. So, local restrictions may apply, I guess, in that phrase that I just said. I will say, actually, one battle that may be going on here as Miles Crab has continued to drop down. He may be feeling some pressure from Matt Thompson here. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Let's ride on board with Matt because he may be able to put a move on here sooner rather than later. This will be a swap-a-roo for the final 2 spots inside the top 5 with Ian Anderson, I believe, coming to collect either the white flag or 2 to go this time by. It's going to be very close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 2 to go, and I think you're absolutely right. I think unfortunately for Miles, he's probably just pretty much a sitting duck. So he's going to have to work really hard to keep Matt Thompson behind him. And even then, I don't know if that's going to be enough. So it's going to be hold him off as long as you can, but don't slow yourself down because you've got Michael Brennan and Josh Justice hanging on back there as well. So you don't want to give up a lot of time fighting with Matt. If he's going to fight you hard, then you probably should just let him go. Unfortunately, that might have to be saving a top 5 to prevent you from going down even further. As we see Thompson working his way around, he's going to make that move down into turn 1. gets him cleared, and he's on his way. So that's going to be Thompson up to fourth, Crab down to fifth, and he's got a 2.8 second gap back to Brennan. So looks like the lap times at least are pretty close there between those two. So got a pretty good chance of hanging on at that P5. But obviously, for a guy that led the first half of the race, just kind of a disappointing kind of end to this as maybe commentator jinx kind of went into there as well. So who knows? I'll take the blame for it if it comes down to it. That's fine. I've been blamed for far worse, I'm sure. As we're on board here with Chuck Lobato fighting with Josh Justice. This is P6 or P7 and P8. Looks like Lobato has got himself around Justice to take that spot as Justice drops down to 8. Brennan is closing the gap up to Crab up there in 6th, 2.1 seconds. So Lobato on the prowl as well, and he is closing that gap down in a hurry. See the tents clicking off as he's trying to track down Brennan and possibly even Crab before this race is over with. I think we're going to be at the white flag as we come through the next time by, as we get a battle here between Pierre and Robertson for P2, as we've got Pierre going to take the inside line there in the chicane. Oh, catch a lot of curb, and they're in the wall, and they're together, and you see the spin by Will Pierre. Kyle Robertson makes it through, and that's going to be a tragic end to that battle. And now we have the problem with Robertson as he has looped it in turn 1 as well. And so now both cars, I think, have damage. Kyle obviously does, and this is going to give Matt Thompson a podium position. Miles Crab is able to work his way back up into 4th place, and Brennan is just on the tail of all these cars.
Oh! Will Pierre just got shown a punt heading down into turn number 3. Matt Thompson going for the jugular, and all this Miles Crab has been able to bounce his way back up into a podium spot, and I think he may be able to hold on to it. Matt Thompson is really struggling. Will Pierre struggling. Ooh. That was Kyle Robertson spinning there in the back. A shot. Yeah. He hangs on to it with a half spin. All sorts of pandemonium chaos. Crab way deep into the hairpin. That's not going to work. I don't believe so. Will he make it work? I think he may have. Yeah, he holds on to it despite being so far away from that apex. I think he nearly ended up in Tennessee.
Yeah, it was very close there as Crab takes it way wide coming out of the infield, back onto the oval, gets the car righted, and Ian Anderson just up there by himself. He's just tooling around 17 seconds ahead. He's going to take the victory tonight as Miles Crab is back up to P2. And then Will Pierre in 3rd, Thompson in 4th, Brennan in 5th, Lobato, and then Justice. And this race is not quite over with yet.
There's your winner. Let's go back to the chaos.
Anderson is across the start-finish line, so he's got the race victory as we head down into the first chicane. Crab followed by Pierre, followed by Thompson, then Brennan, Lobato. Still all fighting amongst themselves as we're working our way through, and this Crab is going to take the P2, followed by Pierre, Thompson, Brennan, Lobato, Justice, Aaron Bray, and Kyle Robertson going to finish 9th. Edgar Santinelli rounds out your top 10, but wow, what a dramatic last couple of laps.
Golly, we're going to take a look at that because there were quite a lot of things going on there, I think is the correct technical term. Well, I'll take a look at this here, see if I can get a different angle of it here shortly. So let's slow it down to half speed. Yeah, so you can see really know where there Kyle Robertson could have done. He already ended up in the fence. I think in the process of that rebounded and clipped Will Pierre. So really nothing that he could have done there. And Kyle Robertson, probably a decent amount of damage on that car on both sides. In fact, hit the curb and nothing that he could have done in the aftermath of all of that. And let's see Miles Crab's perspective in all of this. See the driver's checking up right in front as Will Pierre tries to keep it back up and rolling. There's a spinning car of Robertson. He's going to say, hey, thank you very much. I'll take that spot. Then he goes for the move down the inside of Matt Thompson here sooner rather than later. There's a big checkup. Pierre with a huge sideways snap through 3. And then Crab is eventually going to take advantage of that. Yeah, there he goes to get the move done on Matt Thompson. Meanwhile, we're about to see the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, for Robertson. Oh, whoa. That was a huge curb whack. He saved it and kept it out of the barrier, though. Golly.
Great catch there by Kyle Robertson, but you can just see, I think what we learned during the last half of this race is it doesn't take much to really ruin these cars. Obviously, it doesn't take a lot of damage on any of the corners to really make these cars difficult to drive. I think Crab maybe benefits from the fact that he was the first one to do it and was able to kind of adjust to the car as the rest of those guys were very, very late in their contact. And you saw Kyle Robertson, Will Pierre as well, just really struggling to try and keep a handle on it for those last couple of laps, and allowed Miles Crab to come back and end up with P2 in a race that he could have possibly won or could have possibly finished outside the top 10.
Yeah, so that was a pretty wild race all around. Big comeback tours. Everybody running a very smooth race, very hectic race to be sure, but I gotta say that was an absolutely amazing one to catch here on the air, and hopefully all of you have enjoyed that. And let's take a look here at the results for the first race of the evening before we head off into the Spec Miatas coming up. Ian Anderson walks away with the W, 15.6 seconds a gap at the end between himself and Miles Crab, although that does not share the tale of what was a topsy-turvy race for pretty much everybody throughout the field. Will Pierre walks away with a P3 even after starting that final lap backwards. Matt Thompson going to end up in fourth, with Michael Brennan, we didn't really talk about him too much, the Australian in the 20 car, going to walk away with the top 5. Chuck Labano walks away from this race in 6th, with Josh Justice in 7th. Aaron Bray will finish this race in P8, with Kyle Robertson and Edgar Sanchinelli completing your top 10.
Yeah, Seth Bowman finishes in 11th. Bowie Suin finishing in 12th. Lucas Bachman 13th. Joe Cicchetti finishes in 14th. Ryan Dixon finishing in 15th. John Casey finishes 16th. Zach Miller in 17th. Charles Bowley finishing in 18th. Joaquin Effinger in 19th. Brandon Carl finishing in 20th. And Jensen Bowley is the final car on your 21 car results. So well done to everybody. Once again, fantastic race. Really good battles up front in the first half, and then some really amazing driving there, along with some serious incidents there in the second half of the race. But a still wonderful finish to that race. Once again, thanks to Flood Ford for their sponsorship of tonight's event. We really do appreciate that. And we hope you got your money's worth for that one, because that was a pretty fantastic Ford Mustang race. As we are, I think, going to take a break, and we're going to switch over, and it'll be Spec Miata time here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And so we'll be back in just a few minutes after a brief intermission, and we'll be back to pick up race number 2.
Back again here tonight on Slow Motion Broadcasting with our coverage of the Ray Esports Club Racing League. Already had a pretty good Mustang race, and here we have got the Miatas. It's myself, Ron Maunz, and Charles Boshell with you on the call here tonight. Charles, now we can have some fun, as if the Mustang race wasn't fun already.
Yeah, the Mustang race was a blast, but yeah, this is the old school what they call the Spec Miata. This is the older variant of the Global MX-5. So pretty much same power that you normally would have in the MX-5, but a little bit older variant and susceptible to certain things that the new cars can't do. Obviously, this one has a roof. That's the first big difference. Also, this is susceptible to the money shift, which we hope we don't see tonight. But if we do, you'll hear it, and then you'll see it as you hear the cars explode on the track. So, excuse me. Looking forward to a really great race tonight. 33 car grid. So we're already into qualifying as we're on board here with Michelle Lynn, getting on her outlap. Michelle, one of the admins that handles the Formula V's for the Ray Sports Weekend Warriors. It's good to see her out on the track tonight. So she'll be putting her efforts in as we speak, as well as everybody else. We see Kyle Robertson after the jumping in after the Mustang race, working on his first lap for qualifying. So yeah, looking forward to a really good race tonight. And once again, not just a little less power. So your lap times are going to be probably a couple seconds off from what you would normally see in the MX-5s. But still very, very fun cars to drive, very fun cars to watch and commentate on. And they will put on quite a good show. Obviously, maybe a little bit difference in a little bit of handling, but not that much in comparison to the new version.
Yeah, and these cars have had some updates. I believe one of the later updates was actually to put a brand new roof on them, because I remember when these cars were just a classic Miata convertible, and that was also the time when I broke my H-pattern shifter. I was driving in a preseason Ray Esports event back in 2024. We were running at Long Beach. I think I was running right behind series admin Mr. Stevie Ray at the time, and I headed down into turn number 1, tried to shift it down into second, and in the process of all of that, the shifter went forward with me, so all I got was neutral, and what Stevie got was a fantastic view of seeing how quickly a Spec Miata car can go off into the grass in the runoff area of turn number 1 at Lime Rock. Did I say Long Beach to start that off?
You did say Long Beach.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been even worse if that happened.
That would have been. That would have been straight into the tire barrier.
Yeah, that would have been a money shift, but a money shift into the wall. Wouldn't have blown the motor up through a gear shift. I would have just blown the motor up because I buried it into the tire bundles.
Exactly right. Yeah. As we're starting to see the first few times coming in, Miles Crabb, 138.4. Obviously, he had quite an adventure in the first race. Hopefully, he'll have a cleaner race tonight. As we're riding around Christopher Hamilton, sitting there in second, Nate Himmelsbach third, Kyle Robertson in fourth, Charles Boley in fifth, Anderson, Thompson, Santinelli, Justice Lamano rounding out your top 10 as we're still adding times in, and you see the times are very close. Lots of orange and yellows there on our timing tower. That usually portends well for a really good race, as our qualifying times are pretty tight. It means we're going to have some really tight racing during the race as well.
Yes, I'm expecting a truly competitive race. This is going to be one where everybody's bringing the thunder and excitement, and I think we'll be bringing the thunder and excitement here on this broadcast. And if you are enjoying the show here tonight, how about to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on the racing action. Got a lot of action to look forward to as we get off into Season 1 of 2026 here on iRacing. A bit wild to say that this is, I guess, my third year anniversary season on iRacing, because I started commentating back in Season 1 of 2023. It feels like a rather disturbing notion to say that in a mere couple of days I will have become of legal drinking age, and in the process of that I will have officially been a commentator for 4 out of the 21 years I've been on planet Earth, which is horrifying.
Well, I've been doing it for 3, so you're already a year ahead of me, and I've been on planet Earth quite a bit longer. But once again, I mentioned this to you off air, but I will say it on air as well. Happy birthday to you. 21 is a special one. 18 special, 21 special, and then they all go downhill from there. When you hit 40 for a guy, when you hit 40, it's like the end of the world. So you've got that to look forward to here in a few years.
Yeah, that's going to be a very fun thing. Thank you for bringing some positivity into my birthday celebrations. I will say this is to show you how interesting of a person I am. One of my main bits of worry about my birthday is, this will spoil the day. So one of my favorite things to do outside of broadcasting is just sitting down in a dark room and listening to jazz music with a warm light on and just not having any access to the internet. I have grown to just enjoy peace and quiet, not hearing a Discord notification every 10 seconds because I need to put together a thumbnail or something of the sorts or volunteer for another broadcast. I have enjoyed that quite a lot. A lot of the jazz I listen to is from a local jazz radio station that we have here in the city of Philadelphia. It is the Radio Technical Institute for Temple University. It is WRTI 90.1. They have an app and everything. They play classical music on their main radio station. That is, they play classical music throughout the day and then jazz music in the night. On the app and the website, you can get a 24-hour-long jazz stream because they alternate between jazz in the daytime, classical at night on WRTI's HD2 channel. And I'm a fan of jazz. I enjoy listening to the music. On Saturday nights, however, the program that they play on WRTI is El Viaje, I believe is the other name of the program. It's hosted by a guy, David Ortiz, who seems like a nice guy, and I have listened to the program. It's salsa music, which if I tried to dance salsa, I would pull every single muscle in my body almost simultaneously. So maybe if I go out for some Mexican food on my birthday, that would be quite good. But I don't. I go to Applebee's every year for my birthday and have done since 2019. Which, Applebee's is good food, and this will show that I am not of drinking age at the moment. They have some good flavored lemonades too. Blue raspberry lemonade is my absolute #1 favorite way of contracting blue poisoning.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, Applebee's. There's nothing wrong with Applebee's for your birthday. That's a good tradition to have. Yeah, for sure. For sure. As we're on board here with Caden Parks Miller, currently qualifying in P8 with the Drive Trainer Motorsport, who is our sponsor for tonight's Spec Miata race. So thank you very much to Drive Trainer Motorsport for the sponsorship tonight. And look forward to hopefully seeing your cars. I think there's a few out there on track being successful to make it a good night for you guys as we're on board here now with Chuck Labano, Frito Sport Car running in 12th. Miles Crabb still sitting up there in P1. Christopher Hamilton, Will Pierre, Kyle Robertson, Nate Himmelsbach, your top 5. As we've got about 1 minute left, and obviously with it being a solo qualifying, that 1 minute means 1 minute. So when we hit the 10-minute mark, that will be qualifying done. So I don't think Michelle's going to get back around, and she's not going to try. She's just going to pull it over and send it back to the pits as we round out qualifying for tonight. And look at this. 1700s, 2400s, 1200s, 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 8000s. A little over 10th, a couple hundreds. I mean, it's really tight, and we just some very, very tight lap times there.
Yeah, I want to pull up the other gap graphic. So that's the interval between drivers. Here's a gap between from the pole to whatever driver it may be. Edgar Sancinelli, who's qualified in 20th, is 1.9 seconds off the pace on a lap where it's about 1:38. That is insanity. That is pretty much as close as a Formula One field is with the now passed ground effect regulations. So that is pretty wild. So once again, we're going to have Miles Crabb on the pole. However, I feel like this is a race where the pole position is going to matter like a negative amount.
Yeah, it's not going to matter that much. It's going to be good. Obviously, as we'll go ahead and go through the order. Then we'll kind of talk about it as we're working our pace lap here. Miles Crabb, your pole sitter tonight. Again, 2 for 2 on the pole. Christopher Hamilton starting in P2. Will Pierre third. Kyle Robertson starting in fourth. Nate Himmelsbach starting in P5. Ian Anderson starts in sixth, winner of the Mustang race. Seth Bowman starting in seventh. Rick Wishon starting in P8. Caden Parks Miller starts in ninth. Brandon Carl starting in 10th. Michelle Lynn starts in P11. Scott Russell starting in P12. Chuck Labano starts in P13. Byron Hayes starting in 14th. And Charles Boley starting in 15th.
And then he will be joined on row number 8. Did I get that right? I think I may have. Row number 8. See, I can do math occasionally. I'm definitely lying to myself and you viewers there. Jimmy Carroll will be alongside in P16. Matt Thompson will start in 17th. Alongside him will be David Fench. Joe Cicchetti will start this race in 19th. Alongside him will be Frito himself, Edgar Sancinelli. Lucas Bachman will start in 21st. Michael Brennan alongside in 22nd. Joshua Justice will start this race in 23rd. Aaron Bray, the scorekeeper on the Weekend Warriors and Ray Esports World, will start this race in 24th. Jensen Boley in 25th. LaShawn Young Dilworth in 26th. Kyle Schuch in 27th. John A. Casey in 28th. Ryan Dixon in 29th. Zach Miller in 30th. With Wayne Buttermore, Mike Kean, Joaquin Effinger completing your 33-car starting grid. The same sort of field size that you'd see at the Indianapolis 500, but here we've just got a painted Bank of America sign on the ground instead of the Yard of Bricks, and instead of Indy cars that go to speeds upwards of 242 miles an hour, we got some spec Miatas I don't even think could hit that if they were launched out of a cannon.
Probably not. You're absolutely right. I think they would have to be shot off the deck of a aircraft carrier to get to that kind of speed. But I will say this is what we didn't see in the Mustang race may play a little bit of a role tonight. These cars draft pretty well. So we may see a little bit of drafting down on that NASCAR straightaway between 3 and the tri-oval. So we'll see if that plays a role in tonight's race. Not a lot of straightaways here. There's a couple of small ones and one good side one here as we're going to see coming out of, I think that's coming out of turn 2 actually, and then heading down the back stretch. So we'll see if the draft plays a role in tonight's race, and see if that's going to cause a little more commotion amongst the field as we're getting ready to start this race. And obviously we'll make sure we get our tires and our brakes warmed up and a nice clean start, the same that we had in the Mustang race earlier.
Yeah, one thing to raise about the conditions here is you can see on the left-hand side, right-hand side of your screen, dyslexia kicks in at the worst time there. Track temperature is only at 68 degrees Fahrenheit with ambient temperatures around 65. I'm going to cut to a scenic shot real quick because I don't want my graphics card to blow up as they had their way through the chicane all packed up. But 68 degrees as the track temperature, and humidity at a rather soup-esque 95%. I'm not sure what soup of choice it would be for me. Maybe a nice like butternut squash soup because we are in the colder months. That is somewhat colder weather out there. This is always the worst kind of weather to have for racing. It is cold enough whereby tire temperatures are going to be tricky, but humid enough whereby it is going to be greasy. There's going to be a nice little film of grease for these drivers to drive around. It's like eating a pizza from the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to get a little bit of condensation on the track that's going to make things a little slippery as we head our way down into the chicane. Pace car is off and down the pit straight, so we're going to get this race rolling here. We'll see who gets a good start, and it looks like it's going to be Miles Crabb getting the jump out of the chicane, and a good start by him. Hamilton's going to hang in there just on his outside corner. As they work their way down into 1, as I'm looking down, it looks like everybody got a good clean start thus far as we work our way down through turn 1 for the first time.
Yeah, it looks like everybody getting off to a clean and green start here on this racetrack. Now, however, off through the mid-sector, everybody got to try and start to squabble up as Christopher Hamilton has squabbled up with Miles Crabb. That's a swapperoo up in the front there. Hamilton, the number 15 car, now jumping into that top spot with Miles Crabb right in tow as well. Looking at the entirety of this field, though, and how these drivers are probably going to battle, switching over to the intervals. I've seen a bit of a gap break away with the top 4 driving off into the sunset. But that gap is still rather small between Nate Himmelsbach running in 4th and Ian Anderson running at the top 5 at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. As Crab gets the inside run and takes back over P1, and Will Pierre is going to go with him and move up into P2 as Hamilton just a little wide coming out of that corner off of the infield, drops down into third. Himmel's back in fourth, in Anderson in fifth as they work their way down through the first chicane. And looks like clean and green so far as we're watching through the field, and everybody's doing a really good job. Oh, I did see a car cut it. That's David Finch. You see the slowdown pop up, not quite able to get through there. So that's going to put a little bit of a gap there after the 15th position of Charles Boley. So now you've got a 1.5 second gap there as Finch is on the outside, running the high line, working that slowdown off, and you see that's able to get that job done. So that's the way you're going to have to do it as we see now, bunches and bunches of slowdowns coming out of that final chicane as we see Himmelsbach, Anderson, Robertson, and Parks Miller all got slowdowns coming through that final chicane, as well as Lucas Bachman.
Golly, more yellow flags than a NASCAR race at Talladega. That is insane. Himmelsbach, Anderson, and Robertson all picking up a slowdown. They're not alone. Caden Parks Miller also picked up a slowdown, as I believe Michael Brennan has finally gotten his fully served. But this is going to be a bit of a cork in the bottle here. Robertson also with a slowdown too. I believe everybody has gotten it dealt with, but it has left a bit of a mark on this field as Christopher Hamilton is driven off into the sunset. Pandemonium is breaking out behind Seth Spolman, who's now occupying P4. You got Rick Washone right in tow, Nate Himmelsbach right behind, Ian Anderson, who's right in front of the side-by-side battle involving Michelle Lynn and Kyle Robertson. Brendan Carl and Chuck Labano also going to duke it out as well. And all of that, it has just been a huge bottlenecking here. Honestly, I think if we jump to an aerial shot, either with the chopper, most certainly with the chopper, maybe even with a blimp, you could just see a never-ending train of race cars there.
Yeah, as we see I did see one car moving down to the inside, trying to make a lunge there going into the chicane. Could not tell who that was, but may have been Caden Parks Miller, as we see a couple cars drop off, and actually Miller actually just drops down a little bit. Boley picks up P13 as we're still riding on board with Chuck Labano there. And yeah, you see the gap now between Hamilton and Spolman, 4.5 seconds. That's the only real gap in the field. So you got the top three out there by themselves, and then everybody else pretty much running that draft train all the way around the track, and it's really stretching out. Now we see a little bit of a gap there with Michelle Lynn and Kyle Robertson. So maybe Michelle took a wrong turn somewhere, maybe just a bad corner, and so she's going to drop down the order just a bit as she's sitting there on the outside as the cars are working their way on the inside around her. She's going to lose another spot there. I believe that's to Brandon Carl, so she's going to drop down to P11 as they're still fighting side by side between her and Carl. She does have the inside run there. Carl running a little bit wide going out into the grass, and Michelle able to hang on to that P10, so she's going to hang into the top 10 there for the time being. But there is another gap there, 1.6 seconds between Kyle Robertson and Ian Anderson. That is the battle for P7 and 8. I did see some smoke in the background.
Whoa!
And, there we go. Some contact there coming out of that final corner. That's the 4 car of Caden Parks Miller along with Charles Boley. Those guys were fighting just a little bit earlier in this lap. And you see the fight has actually ended up in damage to those cars as well as contact, and they lost several positions between them. We're going to get the replay here. This is Zach Miller.
Yeah, lots of drama going on as of late. Zach Miller had an off-track excursion there. You can see him going off the circuit. Jimmy Carroll, I think he may have been one of the drivers at the epicenter of it. I mentioned how the section of racetrack that was added in, this long, rather bumpy sweeper, can be tricky. Doubly so when there's contact. He got clobbered big time. I believe that was Joe Cicchetti. Yes, it was. So those two cars getting linked together. In the meantime, there was a drama with Caden Parks Miller. He got sent off the circuit, and right around him at the time of that, this is a losing battle trying to figure out who that was there. But yeah, it was Charles Boley.
Yeah, Charles Boley was involved.
And Ryan Dixon, I think, got away with it rather scot-free, and was a cool-looking race car there. But lots of drama breaking out here on the racetrack as...
we get a little hang-up there on the replay. And
break out the WD-40.
See if we can get that one sorted out as we're keeping an eye on this, on these cars working their way through. And we do see Jimmy Carroll is now in the pits. So he's going to make a stop and probably take on some repairs and get that done. And looks like also maybe a little bit of fuel. as I don't think it's necessary, but he's in the pits now, so maybe getting some repair work done on that car as Miles Crabb out in the lead over Will Pierre. Christopher Hamilton still running in third, and that gap is still about 5 seconds between these cars and Seth Bowman in P4. Rick Wishon, Nate Himmelsbach, Ian Anderson, Kyle Robertson, Chuck Lobato, Michelle Lynn, your top 10. So still some good battles going on there. And we did see that incident there with Jimmy Carroll earlier, and it was over the crest of that hill. So the cars get light there as you crest that hill, and any kind of contact during the middle of that process is going to cause your car probably you're going to lose control of it. As we see the battle now between Will Pierre and Christopher Hamilton as they come back onto the back stretch, and we see a slowdown from Will Pierre. As we're on board with him. I think we're still under replay there, so we're probably a little bit behind.
Yeah.
But Will Pierre does have a slowdown penalty that he's got to serve off. He's going to drop down into third, and he's going to fall back a little bit behind Hamilton. He's trying to do the best he can to get it cleared. Hasn't done it yet. He's now dropped to 9/10 back, and finally, after losing 1 second to Hamilton, he's going to get that slowdown cleared. He can continue on. So now he's going to have a little bit of work to get back into that top battle for the overall lead.
Yeah, so I think here's a good idea as to what we're going to do. We'll let you know that coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, we got round number 1 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors coming at you at Snetterton this upcoming Saturday. Now, I will be unable to do that as I audition for my new part in the Will Rogers Follies. However, that'll be a very good race to look forward to there. XSLR going to be running later on with a race at VIR along with some Weekend Warriors action. Season opening rounds of the Formula Fords and the Spec Racer Fords. SRG F4 at the Hungaro Ring for round number 2. SRG F3 at the Nordschleife. That'll be a pretty wild one, so a lot of action to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the racing action. We're back, and the graphics are also back to black.
How about that? So we're back to live action here. As you can see, we're on board with Will Pierre. You see David Finch with a slowdown, so he's going to have to work that off. And we see the gaps now: 1 second between Crabb and Hamilton, 1.6 between Hamilton and Pierre. As we reset the graphics there and reload everything, Nate Himmelsbach now has a slowdown as well, running in P7, so he's going to lose some time to Anderson. Hopefully he doesn't get caught up by Lobato, but that gap is closing quickly as Lobato is now closing that gap down under 0.3 of a second, and still closing as Himmelsbach has yet to get that slowdown cleared. So he's losing time ahead, and he's losing time behind. He's finally got it done, but now it's side by side with Lobato running through turn 4 and up the hill into turn 5 as they work their way through. Still side by side. The track's going to switch back over, give Himmelsbach a little bit of an advantage on the inside. Lobato's going to try and hang it out wide, and not quite enough, but he's got a good run going. So let's see, is he going to be able to tuck back in and maybe grab a little bit of the draft off of that car in front of Himmelsbach? But not so much, because Robertson is right there in his tire tracks, not allowing him to get in. He's going to give Himmelsbach a little bit of a bump draft there as they work their way down. It's going to be 3 wide down into the chicane. No, they back out. So nicely done there by Robertson to fight that battle later, as opposed to right now. Backs off and gets a good run out of the chicane, is going to try and get that run to Lobato as they work their way down into the trioval through NASCAR 3 and 4.
So still keeping everything honest out there on the racetrack. Drivers running all around each other as if it's going out of style. I will tempt fate with this. Let's take a look to see what happened with Edgar Sanchinelli, because he ran into some trouble not too long ago. Is him in the number 57 car. May have been around a bowling. Actually, no, he was caught up in the other round of bowling, hang down to the hairpin. My apologies here. So we'll say with this is everything goes on around there. You can just hear the unmistakable sound of metal snapping, and coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Yeah, we got a lot of action to look forward to here on SMB. I will do something a little bit interesting here. So we're going to be coming back, and we are going to be coming back briefly with that. without the UI and without graphics real quick, I'm going to get this resolved here, and we will follow Miles Crab in the race lead as everything else goes on out there on the racetrack, and the graphics melt briefly.
Yep, and Miles Crab in the lead. Christopher Hamilton in second. Will Pierre in third. Dropping off. Gap's now 3 seconds between Hamilton and Pierre. We'll say Scott Russell has a meatball flag, so we'll have another replay that we probably won't tempt fate to see. We'll see if we can get some clarification on it. But Scott Russell is going to have to come in and serve that meatball flag. Obviously got damaged somewhere during the course of this, running in P21 right behind Lucas Bachman and right ahead of Joe Cicchetti. As we're back to the graphics, as we see the title card come up, as Miles Crab very, very close there to the outside line, to the outside wall. He's coming out of that chicane, and we'll say that we didn't have quite the we haven't had quite the drama thus far in turn one, but it seems like those chicanes are still doing some damage to these cars, at least in forms of slowdowns and incidents.
And, you know, I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure why they've all gone back. Like, some of the stuff has. Thankfully, our wonderful logos that we have got here on this broadcast for our sponsor, Drivetrainer Motorsports being the sponsor for this Spec Miata race, we still have the wonderful logos. We just don't have the same nice little red graphics. Yeah, I'm a little bit bummed about that because that took me, I was the one that got the red working on the graphics to start off with, so I'm left here being like, no, my work. Well, we're in this industry. Sometimes you gotta let bygones be bygones and let the insanity go on around you as you sit back, relax with a nice book and a glass of whatever beverage you prefer. Looking at a battle here with Kyle Robertson, Nate Himmelsbach. Himmelsbach is always a good driver to keep tabs on, no matter what kind of car he is racing. And I think I recognize him from a Spec Racer Ford action. Although I do have the memory of a goldfish that was birthed in a vat of nuclear waste.
Oh, well, there you go. So, yeah, Himmelsbach is obviously qualified a little bit higher as we see Brandon Carl now with a slowdown as he's working his way through the chicane. So he's going to have to bleed that time off, and I think the high line is going to work for him as they're coming their way down through the NASCAR 3 and 4 section. So he's going to have to let that time drop off. That's going to cost him that battle between him and Byron Hayes for P10. But Carl having a good run he's actually down one position from the start of the race, but still having a pretty good run in comparison to what he did in the Mustangs earlier. Not as fortunate then as he is now, as I'm getting messages from our partner, J.R. Gregory, who you can hear a little bit later here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. With the Sim Racers Group F3 race tonight. In the next few minutes or so, we'll be going live. So once we get done here, you can switch over there and continue to watch some more great racing here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. He's giving me a hard time for being in this broadcast and not in the broadcast with him. And I get told what to do. They don't, I don't get a pick. I just got to go where they say. It's not like I've said, no, here's my schedule. No, that's not how this works. And if you have a problem with that, take it up with my boss who's sitting in the booth with me.
Yay! I was actually going to say, I wish I could just say, yeah, I want to do this show and not the other, because there have been so many occasions where there's been one specific day and about 7 different broadcasts that people want me on. I'm like, I have one set of vocal cords, 2 arms, and 2 legs. I'm not sure what I would use my legs for on a broadcast, but I think Miles Crab may have to use his legs to close up a gap because he has picked up a slowdown. That is going to be big.
Yeah, that's going to be big. He's going to have to relinquish the lead to Christopher Hamilton to get that slowdown worked off. And then fortunately for him, Will Pierre also same slowdown in the same chicane. So obviously not able to capitalize. So he's going to still have that 5-second gap between him and Crab. But now Crab has got 1.5 seconds behind Hamilton. So he's got to pick up the pace and get back up there. Obviously, I think he's just outside that draft range that we talk about, that magical 1 second between cars. So he really only needs to make up about 4/10 somewhere on the track in order to get back in there, and that's going to help him pull himself back up to Hamilton to challenge back for that race lead. So very similar to what happened in the first race. Crab led basically the first half of the race, ran into an issue in turn one, and had to start dropping off before it was able to regain P2 at the finish. So now he's down in P2, and the gap is closing. You can see it's just around that 1 second mark. So he's doing a great job of closing that time down. So he'll get a chance, I think, here in a few laps as we battling there between Robertson and Himmelsbach going through that first chicane, and contact there between the two cars as Himmelsbach kind of backs off now and gives Robertson a chance to kind of settle down and kind of gather himself back up after that run through the chicane. No change for position, so still running 8th and 9th, but obviously you can see that battle is not gonna go away anytime soon.
Yeah, it looked like it was getting a bit physical between those racers. You could see them breaking the elbows out. I thought that I was going to see Nate Himmelsbach try and pull off a bump and run on Kyle Robertson, which, you know, maybe it's just me. That would have been pretty cool to see somebody doing a spec Miata, but I'm not sure how well that would be received if you were Kyle Robertson. I don't think he'd be too happy about that, and I think he has every right to be a little bit upset if that were to come to pass. Worst time to cut to the camera angles, I think they both ran wide, heading their way out of 4.
Yeah, and Robertson kind of scraped that wall as well, running wide, coming through there, able to gather it back up. But obviously, you can see that the battle he had a little bit earlier with Himmelsbach still kind of on his mind, as Himmelsbach is still there, and you see Himmelsbach trying to get the run and tried to turn it down, and just couldn't get the car to comply. Lost the rear a little bit, had to catch it. And so he's going to lose a little bit of time there, and they're still fighting. And I don't think this is over quite yet, as Miles Crab is we'll keep an eye on that as the gap's down about 1.3. So slowly closing it down. Will Pierre running in 3rd as we see the battle here between Seth Spolman, Ian Anderson, Rick Wishon, and Chuck Lobato. That's positions 4 through 7. And you see, I mean, basically nothing. That's basically almost bump drafting down this little down through the oval section here, as Anderson is all over it. See a nice view of the gearbox and the rear end there of that Miata, as we get a up close and personal view inside the car. I think you could even see what color his shoes were as we were in there. As we are on board now, still with Chuck Lobato from the front, as we head our way down into turn 1 and through this section over the hill through turn 2. And around and down, and so far everything seems to be standing pat, but I think this battle will heat up again here in short order.
Should we take a look at a train? I feel like we should take a look at a train, because we've got a train that is many cars strong, and the engine of the train at the moment is Michelle Lynn in the other 44 car. Right behind her is Josh Justice, who's up 10 spots from where he started in this race. Michael Brennan, meanwhile, he's up 8. So 2 of the top 3 drivers in this field have scythed their way through the pack and are running in this train that is just outside of the top 10. Michelle Lynn currently occupying the spot in P12, but you look at Michelle Lynn involved in this train, Josh Justice involved in this train, Michael Brennan in the Barbie car in this train, Matt Thompson involved in it as well, Edgar Sancinelli not at the tail end because Aaron Bray is right behind to pounce as well. So I saw that on the graphics, and a massive group of cars all covered by less than a half a second. Whoa. I was like, no, I may have jinxed it, because everybody running so many different lines off through there. Josh Justice cooking it big time. Michael Brennan was overcooking it hugely into the turn, but I think it worked out. He's now got a fantastic run, going to be side by side on the banking.
Yeah, Brennan got a good run. I think Michelle checked up a little bit more than maybe Justice was expecting, and it almost looked like there might have been some contact there as pushed Michelle a little bit wide through the chicane, and actually caused a little bit of a slowdown for Justice there as he had to check up, and that gave Brennan a chance to get a good run. He's going to go 3 wide going in for 1, and that just barely worked. That was so close, as you see a little bit of a hip check there to Lynn. And Brennan works his way through, and Justice has jumped to the front of this train. And I don't think Michelle's going to think too kindly of that, and I think she's going to be looking for a way back around Brennan here in short order.
I am gobsmacked that they're able to get through turn 1 3 wide. We've seen drivers struggle to go through that single file, let alone side by side or even 3 wide. That is madness. I understand these spec me out as different kettle of fish, but even still, look at the dive from Michelle Lynn. She's going to try and jump her way up in a P13, but it's not over yet. Brennan going to take the better run, cuts back on the inside, and that will be a swap route. Now Michelle Lynn may be in a bit of trouble because Matt Thompson has been able to force the issue here. Matt Thompson now down the inside through the banking and going to be able to get that move done. Michelle Lynn slips back in tow in front of Edgar Stancinelli, who's still in front of Aaron Bray. So this battling still going on out there on the racetrack, but we got another battle, this one being a bit important with 8.5 minutes left to go here. Christopher Hamilton has had that gap to himself and Miles Crabb get cut down to scale.
Yeah, absolutely. His Crab is all over the tail of Hamilton now. So the battle for the lead is back on as Rick Wishon has a slowdown. So he's going to drop him off of the back of Lobano. He's going to lose some time there as we're watching this, and we're just going to wait and see. And it's going to be Miles Crabb is going to be looking, playing the patient game. Still 8 minutes left to go in this race. So he's got a few laps left, and he can be looking for his opportunity to make this run. And it may be down this straightaway here as they work their way out of the infield back up onto the oval. And so we're going to see if this draft kicks in. It allows Crabb to get this run down into the chicane.
Yeah, probably. I think this could be a good shot from Crabb to reel it in. That chicane is a fantastic overtaking opportunity as well. This retooled chicane, it wasn't originally like this when they brought back the Roval in 2018. That chicane was basically, you had a death wish every single time you headed your way off through there. Here, however, even with the curbs of doom, it is still a good spot to get a move done. Crabb doesn't go for it yet, but I think he will do soon.
No, he didn't have quite a good enough run. He made up about 0.2, but just not enough to get to look for a move going into the chicane. As you see him picking up the pace here again, another 0.2 between the chicanes. It just not enough. He needs to be within a couple of tenths of the back of that Hamilton car in order to be in position to make that dive down in. So he's running about 0.3 back as it's starting to close it down just a little bit more. He really needs to have this run coming out of the infield. He needs to be, like I said, within about 1.5 tenths, 0.2 as they get back on the throttle to head down that straightaway to have an opportunity to make that run. And he's just not quite there yet. So we'll be looking for that, as well as also keeping an eye on Seth Bowman behind Ian Anderson, about 0.6 of a second. Rick Wishon about 0.7 behind Chuck Lobano. So there's still a few battles on track. Justice still leads the train between himself, Brennan, Thompson, Santinelli, Bray, and Michelle Lynn has fallen back. So she is apparently maybe had as we get a good run now. So here we go. So 1600s and closing. He's got the run, and now Hamilton goes defensive on that inside line, right down on almost on the apron, but not quite, but down at the blue line. Is going to keep it really close on the inside as they're side by side, and Crabb wisely pulls out. Not enough there. He was alongside, but not quite ahead yet, so he's going to just kind of back out and reset, but he had the good run coming out of the infield, just unable to capitalize that time by.
Yeah, but I think what the message is from Miles Crabb is rather clear. He wants to try and get the W here in this race after the relative disappointment that came out of the Mustangs. He wants to try and get off to a good run here, and I think he has a very good shot to do it. Quickly, though, as we see these drivers breaking their way off into the mid-sector. Saw some drama going on involving Kyle Schuch and Joe Cicchetti. Got to keep an eye on this. I believe that's Cicchetti right in front. Yes, it is, in fact. So let's keep an eye on this as they head their way into the hairpin. Easy spot to make contact. You can see running a little bit wide is Schuch. He goes for the move there. Cicchetti very deep in on the turn. I think that may have just been it. I think they went way too slow heading off through the hairpin, and that's how the fates went.
Yeah, I think Schuch just basically kind of bailed out of that. I think he had to run on the inside, but I think he was maybe afraid that Cicchetti was going to move and cut back under and really kind of hammer that chicane or the apex on the inside, and just kind of was a little hesitant there. So I think maybe next time he'll think a little differently now that he sees what Cicchetti's doing. So that may be a different story when they come back by the next time. They're still on board here with Hamilton and Crabb, the top two, with an 8-second gap over Will Pierre in third. And as you can see, Crabb has he was about a half second back. I think he got kind of checked up a little bit in the final chicane the last time by. It was very close going in. I think he kind of backed off, and it was a nice 0.6 of a second gap once they came out of the chicane. So now he's just kind of working his way back into that zone again with about 4 minutes, a little under 4 minutes to go. So I think we're going to be 3 to go with the line. It's going to be close. Now it's going to be 2 to go at the line, I think. I think we're just going to be inside 2 to go. So we'll see. We'll make sure when we come back by the next time. But now you can see Crabb is back in there within that quarter second. So he is right where he needs to be, as we see Himmelbach with a meatball. So obviously something happening to Nate Himmelsbach there in P8 as he's coming into the pits now. So obviously contact with a wall somewhere as we're back on board with the leaders. 0.2 of a second now. Crabb really closing that gap down. You can see basically 1 car length between the 2 cars as Crabb is now looking to the inside here, and not quite enough to make that move. But you can see he's now looking for other places besides the chicanes to make that run as we get a good run. Is he going to get a good run out of here? 0.3 as closing. Yeah, I think he did get a good run. So he's now that's under 0.2 already. So we're a little bit closer. Hamilton will probably stay low. Crabb's going to have to go to the high side and try and get this run done, as we're less than 0.1 between the 2 cars. They'll side by side halfway, and then we're even as we come down into the chicane. And Crabb just not enough. It just doesn't have enough of a run there on that straightaway in order to make the lunge down into the corner, even on the outside. So Hamilton doing a really good job of defensive driving there to keep Crabb in a disadvantage as they're working their way through those chicanes.
Yeah, this has been an expertly crafted battle for the both of these racers, whether it be the defensive game from Hamilton, the offensive game from Crabb. Right now it's advantage Hamilton, but it is not over. 2 laps left to go here at the Charlotte Roval as Crabb goes for the dive into turn number 1. That's going to be close to contact. They touch and bang tires, and that is Christopher Hamilton still holding on to that top spot. Crabb right behind. Still not a lot of time left to close up that gap. Not a lot of time left to get the move done, though, so I think we're starting to see a little bit of impatience flowing out from Myles Crabb here.
Yeah, he really is. He's starting to really start looking for other locations in the chicanes to try and make that run. You saw him try and get the run down into turn 1. Not quite enough there. He's going to be looking as well again here coming into this corner out of the infield. Got the gap down to 0.5. Got some lap traffic just ahead, so that might play a role here. As we're going to be at 1 to go when we come back down to the start-finish line this time. I did check just to make sure, and it was 2 to go last time, so it'll be last lap when we come down to the start-finish line this time. As Myles Crabb gets the gap down under 0.4, he's going to get that run. So he's going to be in a prime position on this last lap to be all over the back of Hamilton's car, as we see good run through the chicane there. Cuts about 1/10 off just coming into the braking zone for the chicane as he works his way through. So now as we run around the tri-oval, through NASCAR 3 and 4 into the tri-oval chicane, we'll have 1 to go when we get down there, as we see the gap is now 0.2 of a second between Hamilton and Crabb.
Now with time running out, the white flag in the air, the tension is going to rise once more. Now, however, with some lap traffic up in front, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, yeah, that's Joaquin Effinger. Not really anywhere that Joaquin can really let these racers by in a comfortable manner, and that is kind of what I expected. Hamilton gets tripped up a little bit. Crabb right on the outside. They're close to contact coming out of turn number 2. Turn number 3, my apologies. Now on the exit of 4, Crabb still on the outside. They're going to swap sides down into 5. This is going to be air racing stuff. Will Crabb go for the dive? Heading off into the sweeper. He tried to go for it a bit earlier on. He thinks better of it. Smashing the shock absorbers through the sweeper. Now into the hairpin for the last time. Myles Crabb running out of spot to get a move done, but he's got the aggression. Let's see if he finally tries to go for it into one of the final chicanes, because that's all he really has left.
Yeah, absolutely, as they head their way down the back stretch. as Crab is closing the gap again down to a tenth of a second. There is another lap car just ahead. It'll be entering the chicane here just in a minute. As Crab looking to the outside, Hamilton stay on the defensive line and able to hang on, but Crab not done quite yet, as he's still on the tail of Hamilton as they come out of the chicane for the last time, coming down through NASCAR 3 and 4 into the trial chicane. One more time down, pretty good gap there between Hamilton and Crab, 4.5 tenths, and I think that's going to be just about enough for Christopher Hamilton to hang on to that lead, as unless there's something drastic that happens there, and no, there's not, and Hamilton's going to take the win. Miles Crab is going to end up finishing second.
Oh, no.
And did he break the car, or did he run out of fuel?
Nah. I think he may have had a slowdown at the end. I wonder if he served that in time. If Miles Crab didn't serve that in time, he is going to drop down like a stone thrown into a pond. He may have gone it, though.
I think he did. I'm seeing checkered flag, no yellow, no black. Looks like he got that done, was able to get that slowdown worked off, and he is going to finish second with Will Pierre, Ian Anderson, and Seth Bowen rounding out your top 5. Great race up at the front of the field, and great battling through the midfield as well tonight.
Yeah, and what a night. What a night of action. This has been another fun night here from the Ray Esports Club Racing League. And if you have enjoyed tonight's show, how about hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on the racing action. And after this broadcast is said and done, I can make this promise right now. I will go downstairs and drink a can of WD-40 because my tongue got wrapped around my teeth about 87 separate times there in the span of a couple of sentences. We're going to take a look at the results here in just a few moments. I'm still waiting for a few more cars left to come across the line. I believe David Finch is out there on the racetrack along with Michelle Lynn. I believe they have actually come across the line here, so still waiting for just a couple, and then we'll be able to get up and rolling. Mike Key we see out there on the racetrack. We focused on Mike Key. I believe it was the last round of the championship, potentially. Actually, no, it was round 1 for Group 1 at Daytona when we focused on Mike Key very briefly, and he was greatly appreciative of that. So here's Mike Key out there on the racetrack, comes across the line in 25th. We'll say a stacked field of racers. You had a lot of different competitors running out there on the racetrack, treating us some good racing overall here this evening. I hit the wrong button. See, it's the live button. It's the live button that does me in. If I just try and do anything more, we're good. But if not, we're running into a slight problem. So you'll be able to see the fantastic thumbnail that we've got here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and of course the wonderful sponsors that we had here, Flood Ford and Drive Trainer Motorsports here tonight. And we are back, and we will be able to get those results loaded up just about now.
There we go. And let's get those results. And we got Christopher Hamilton getting the win tonight in the Spec Mazda. Miles Crab finishing in second. Will Pierre finishes in third. Ian Anderson in fourth. Fifth is Seth Spolman. Chuck Lobano finishes in sixth. Seventh is Kyle Robertson. Eighth is Byron Hayes. Brandon Carl finishing in ninth. Michael Brennan rounds out your top 10. Matt Justice finishes in 11th. Josh Justice in 12th. Aaron Bray finishes in 13th. Edgar Sachinelli finishes in 14th. Caden Parks Miller finishes in 15th. David Finch in 16th. Michelle Lynn finishing in 17th. And that rounds out the first page, and we'll go down to P18 there, Ron.
Yeah, with Nate Himmelsbach finishing this race in 18th, Joe Cicchetti right behind in 19th, Kyle Schuch in 20th, Zach Miller will finish in 21st, Ryan Dixon in 22nd, Lucas Bachman in 23rd, Wayne Buttermore in 24th, Mike Key in 25th, Rick Washone in 26th, Joaquin Effinger in 27th, John A. Casey will finish this race in 28th place with Jensen Boley, Scott Russell, Charles Boley, Jimmy Carroll, and LaShawn Young-Dilworth completing your results here for round number 2 for group number 2 of the Ray Esports Club Racing League. If you have enjoyed the broadcast here tonight, well, you should probably hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Looking through, trying to figure out, yes, we do have some drivers looking to have a chat with us. So with our replay replay glitches. I'm going to try and work this out without breaking my computer. I think we'll be able to come up with a solution here that fits us rather well. So I will filibuster here in a couple of moments and try and get it all up and rolling. But what a night of racing action here, Charles. We've had 2 races here tonight, which were absolutely fantastic. Had the action from the season finale for the Ferrari Road and Oval Challenge at Indianapolis Motor Speedway earlier on, and currently live is the season opener for the Sim Races Group F3 series. So a lot of action tonight here on SMB, it is fair to say.
Yeah, it really has been quite a full night here on SMB as we're waiting on Ron to get his ducks in a row so we can get some interviews in here. Great racing tonight here at the Charlotte Roval. Mustangs race put on a good show, as well as the Spec Miatas. Lots of good battles on track. You know, not a lot of, I think we only had maybe 2 multi-car incidents, and that was, I think, 2 or 3 cars maximum. But most of it's just been solo spins and crashes into the wall from just over exuberance and either with the throttle pedal or with the curb. So I think some really good racing tonight, and it sets a good precedent for the rest of the season, at least here for Group 2 in the Mustangs and the Spec Miatas. So yeah, looking forward to a great season tonight. Yeah, let's get some interviews. And Ron, who you want to grab for our first interview tonight?
Ooh, that is a very good question. You know, considering that he's on camera right now, I'm going to save myself the work and have a chat with Christopher Hamilton at the end of this race. Christopher, welcome into the broadcast booth. It's a win for you here in the Spec Miatas, but it was not easy. You had a showdown between yourself and Miles Crabb at the end of this race. How was it out there?
And if I could get all my shifts, it would be great. I finally figured out how to get here, but I think I missed like 5 shifts in that race.
See, I will say, and this is honest, I have some shifting related problems in reference to this car. I broke my H-pattern shifter and the actual bracket it's mounted on driving this car about 2 years ago. And even then, it's so tricky. I think the main problem is, I think it's between second and third where the problems are. Were you having the same problems? It feels like you're going from one gearbox to a completely different one, don't it?
That was definitely the one that I missed like 5. I think it felt like I missed like 5, but these guys always put it. They never make it easy on me. You know, it doesn't matter the class, doesn't matter what car it is. It's always hard fought racing, but it's clean racing, so I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and happy to have you here in the broadcast booth as well to kind of ask you about the night as a whole. I believe, I'm trying to think, were you out there on the in the Mustangs? I think you were just here for the Mazdas, was that correct?
Yeah, so I was just here for the Mazdas. I got home literally like a minute after qualifying ended, so there was no Mustang race for me. Most of the time, I usually just do the second group anyways, so it kind of worked out in the end.
Yeah, it works out very well for you, walking away with a W. I want to ask you about this track. The new version of the Charlotte Roval has only been around for just a tick over a season now. Was this your first time driving around this configuration of the Roval? Have you driven around here before, and how do you like it?
I've driven around here before in a GT4 car when it first unveiled. And that's where I learned that track limits is optional in some portions. I noticed that not many people were using the runoff after one of the long chicanes where it looks like there's an American flag where I was. So, I wasn't getting off track, so I said, if I'm no off track, fair game. But I am pretty indifferent about this track. I absolutely suck at chicanes, and that's where Miles was getting me most of the time. But overall, I don't hate the track. I mean, I actually kind of like it, but it's not like in my top 10.
Yes, that's still a good night for you regardless, walking away with a W. I want to ask you about the next round of the championship, at least here for Group 2. Next time for the Ray Esports Club Racing League will be Group 3 Formula Car action at Sebring. But when this Group 2 series returns, we're going to be running at Phillip Island down there in Australia. What are your thoughts heading to that track and that race, which will be broadcasted on February the 4th?
That's a long time from now. So we'll see. I've driven that track and absolutely love it. I don't know if they're going to shove us into the right-hand drive cars. That would be hilarious if they did, but I'm pretty sure we're going to stay in the left-hand drive cars. Yeah, I actually really like that track. I quite like it more than I like Charlotte.
And I just realized that this is actually the final broadcast of this series of the year, because we won't be returning for Group 3 action until January the 7th here on SMB. But Christopher, well, let you give any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go and celebrate this win here in the Spec Miatas.
A huge shout out to Ryan McCauley for this fun Vet Motorsports paint scheme. This was kind of left over when I volunteered for them in 2021, and I just kind of kept it. I remember watching a past broadcast where I think somebody had a little too much fun with my license plate. That was totally on purpose. Yeah, but he did a great job on this paint. It looks great out there, and happy to support Vet Motorsports and SDCA Foundation. Huge shout out to everyone else out there who runs this Ray Esports League. It was kind of a warm welcome back, and I'm glad to be racing again, and thank you guys for the broadcast.
Yeah, and thank you as well for joining us here on the broadcast booth, Chris. Well done on the win, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack at Phillip Island in what feels like about 50,000 years from now.
I'll be out there. Maybe if they give us a right-hand drive, I might drive. That'll be fun.
That would be very interesting. I think it would break all of our cameras, but I would very much so enjoy that little bit of weirdness.
All right, here's to it.
Alrighty, that right there was your race winner, Christopher Hamilton, joining us here in the broadcast booth. And to Charles, I will ask who you would like to have a chat with now.
Well, let's bring in our Mustang race winner and P4 runner here in the Spec Mazda, Ian Anderson. Bring him down and have a conversation. Ian, congratulations on the win in the Mustangs. Got that going away. Obviously, there was some other things that happened during the course of that race, but with a solid P4 here in the Spec Miata. So obviously, new configuration of the Charlotte Roval. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I drove this for the first time, I think on Sunday, and I wasn't really fond of it. Just a lot of left side tire degradation, and the car was falling off pretty early in the run. So it was like with qualifying, you just had to put them in as early as you can, and by the last qual lap, it was pretty much you weren't getting much more out of it. So. Still happy with the result. I'd probably put 120 plus laps in over the last 2 days, and it paid off apparently.
Yeah, that's what they say. They say practice pays off. So you go in and put in the work, and you get a good result out of it. Obviously, once again the race a little strange. We had some dramatics happening in the second half of that Mustang race with the other guys that were kind of up there battling with you. Obviously, Miles Crabb, kind of led the first half of actually both races, and then just a little mistake, and the next thing you know, he's seemingly fighting for his life out there.
Mm. Oh yeah,
So as we continue on here, as Ron was saying earlier, not another race again this season. So this is the last Ray Esports Club Racing League race for the year. So we'll be back on January 7th with Group 3, which is the SCCA cars and at Sebring. So are you going to be around for those? And what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, Sebring, one of my favorite tracks. Yeah, I'll definitely come in with a lot of practice laps and setups. I tried a ton of setups and went back to fixed with the Mustang. I don't know.
Is that right? Okay.
Tried a ton of setup bridges.
Well, cool. Ian, congratulations on your Mustang victory and the top 5 in Spec Miata. We'll let you give any thanks or shout outs and let you go and celebrate.
Oh yeah, thanks to my work, Race on Rails, for letting me kind of bail a little bit early so I can get here on time. And thanks to the rest of my wife. I got to thank my wife. And
always important. Yep.
Always important. For supporting me. And also thanks to Will for the the drive to get better at this. So, thanks, Will. And thanks to Miles for the good race. Like that was a good scrap there for a little while. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, Ian. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations again. We'll see you. We'll see you next round.
I'll see you next time.
All right.
And that right there was Ian Anderson, who had a pretty all-right night in his own regard. And I'm looking through. This feels a little bit tough. I don't think we have enough time to interview everybody.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yeah, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to bring in Miles Crab to have a chat with him, because it's been a little while since I had a chat with Miles. He's now joining us here in the booth. Miles, welcome in. A pretty interesting evening for you here at Charlotte. We'll talk about the Mustang race in a couple of moments, but first off, how was the Spec Miata race to get the day drawn to a close?
They were honestly about the same. The only difference is it didn't knock the wall down in the Spec Miata. I was listening to Chris's interview, and it's hilarious that he thinks that I was getting him through the chicanes, because I was watching their relative. That was not where I was getting him. I have no idea where this car wanted to brake into the last chicane. There's no markers, there's no nothing, so I was just kind of guessing, and I guessed wrong twice. And ended up with slowdowns, which was a little bit of the difference. And I don't understand why every track that I absolutely hate with a burning passion, I'm fast at. Like, it's really annoying. This one and Coda rank pretty far down on the list. And, we were in these cars, we were at Summit the last time we drove them, which is arguably my best track and the one I have the most laps on iRacing. And I just flew off the racetrack for no apparent reason. Did the same thing last week at Bathurst, too. Just decided to knock the wall down for no apparent reason. But, yeah, tonight in both the Mustang and Spec Miata, second place. I got them on the start. I pulled away over the first 5 laps, and then I was doing something wrong, and they figured something out and just slowly marched to my rear bumper. And I'm here to win and trying to win, so it's like, all right, Mustang was, let's try the curb in turn 1. I'm sure it won't be too bad, and I'm in the wall. And this one was, all right, let's try and drive it in deeper into the chicane. No, that didn't work. Okay, let's try earlier braking, and I cut the course. There was no in between. But I'm getting irritated finishing second. If I'd have managed to finish the Bathurst races last week, it would be 6 or 7 seconds in a row. That's getting old. And to all different people. It'd be better if it was like one guy kicking my butt every week. It's different people every single race.
I'm going to jump in here, Ryan. I kind of feel like I owe Miles an apology, because I actually brought that up during the Mustang race. As I was covering you last season, it seemed like you finished second like 4 or 5 weeks in a row. And I mentioned that as you were leading the Mustang race, so I think I may have threw the commentator curse at you tonight, and I apologize for that.
Oh, that wasn't the commentator curse. That was the out-of-talent curse. Although I'm proud of those last 9 laps, because if you went on board with me, I was never pointed straight. It was every time I lifted out of the gas, the car would just start to pick a direction to rotate, and I had to hold it through the corner, rotated that way. And I was able to hold everybody off for a couple laps, and then they pulled out ahead, and then they crashed. And they had the exact same driving cars I did, but I knew what to do, and they didn't, so I was able to get by them. And it was just a mess of a. Ian had a, easy Sunday drive out in front, and we were just trying to wreck each other.
See, honestly, Miles, I think there may be some causation here. You know how you said that the tracks that you have the most experience at are the ones where the falling anvils come down? You may need to talk to Michelle Lynn about that, because she always brings that up in reference to the Formula V Weekend Warriors broadcast that we do here. All the tracks that she's driven at in real life, the likes of Summit Point and Lime Rock, she always struggles at, but the ones where she has no experience at, that's usually the ones where she ends up getting the best of luck, the best of runs, no amount of chaos breaks down. So you may have to have a chat with Michelle Lynn, because I think there may be some sort of phenomenon that's going on here in these races. I was going to ask you about your thoughts on this track, but I think you summed it up rather well there. Next time out here, I think in like February, we're going to be running with Phillip Island, but I want to ask you firstly about the next round of the Ray Esports season, which won't be until January. Sebring for the Formula cars on January 7th. What are your thoughts heading there?
This track and Sebring are similar in one way, which is you want the car to handle good when it's on the ground. I didn't anticipate until in the qualifying exactly how much of curbs you have to take here. But yeah, Sebring's a real racetrack, and the V's are going to be hilarious. I don't even know if you brake for Sunset in it. But the FFs are about the right speed for that track to make it interesting. And I heard you mention it's Phillip Island for these cars, which is just weird to me because Phillip Island is a motorcycle track in my head. I don't even contemplate cars driving around it, but it turn one at Phillip Island ranks as my on a motorcycle. Cars I don't care, but motorcycles I never want to do that corner ever in my life. Like, that is the most terrifying looking corner on the planet, and I've watched way too many people fly through the air for hundreds of yards after high side and going into turn one there. So it's one of my favorite tracks to watch on TV. I've never been down under, so I've never driven it, but it's one that I've owned in iRacing since it was released about 10 years ago, and I don't think I've ever actually driven on it outside of like a test session when I first bought it. So it'll be fun. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Mustang will be really interesting. There's another hairpin that's like come to a complete stop.
Yep.
In fact, there's 3 now that I think about it. So yeah, no, that'll be fun there, and going to a real racetrack for the Formula cars will be fun.
Yeah, the amount of Formula V broadcasts I've done at this point, whenever I think of draft-heavy tracks in the Vs, I think of the various noises that'll come out of my mouth if I'm on that broadcast. You'll probably hear me screech as if I just sat on a freezing cold toilet seat. But Miles, we'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs as usual before we let you go.
Hi, Jessica. Ren's probably not watching. He's in Greece. I don't even know if they have internet over there. If they do, he's not paying for it.
Was 4 o'clock in the morning.
Hi, everybody else who's watching. Hi, Mom. I'm sure you're still watching. And thank y'all for broadcasting. Y'all do a great job. I have no idea who sponsored this race. So whoever sponsored, thank you for sponsoring this one. We missed a week because nobody sponsored the Spec Racer Fords and the Global MX5 Cup cars. I can't even remember last week, and I didn't realize, otherwise I would have footed the bill. But thank y'all for broadcasting again. You'll do an excellent job. Thank you, Stevie, for putting this on, even though he doesn't get to come out here and race. And thanks to all the admins that help him put on this league.
Yeah, and thank you as well for joining us here in the broadcast booth, Miles. Well done on the results here, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack come time for the start of 2026.
I'll be here.
I'm sure you will. That right there was Miles Crab joining us here in the broadcast booth, and we're running out of time here. So, Charles, I'm going to ask you about looking ahead into the future, what feels like the distant future in my head, which really isn't, considering it's only in a couple of weeks. Horrifying to think that we're that close to the start of 2026. It doesn't even feel like we're in 2025.
Yeah, no, it's going to be obviously Happy New Year, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. And yeah, it's going to be a great year. We got obviously lots and lots of racing to do next year. Sebring is going to be fantastic. Love the Formula cars there. It's going to be a blast. And then obviously Phillip Island, I think Miles hit it. That's going to be a great track, and it's going to be fun to watch the Mustangs roll their way around that track and try and get break for some of those hairpins. But yeah, looking forward to the continuation of a great season, so let's enjoy our holidays, and we'll come back refreshed and ready for some more action.
Yeah, and it is going to be a lot of fun as we round this year off to a close. And We'll go through the upcoming shows, this time without me trying to sort out some technical issues as I'm doing it. The Formula V Weekend Warrior is going to be starting off Season 1 of 2026 in style with a race at Snetterton. That's going to be a technical one, but that's going to be super fun as well. XSLR going to be ringing in the 4th of 5 series during the Cross Series League Racing Season 10. That'll be the touring cars running at VIR, so some good action to look forward to there. Sim Racers Group F4 Series going to be at the Hungaroring on Tuesday, December 23rd, and then after that, on Christmas Eve, we're going to be having a rather fun Sim Racers Group F3 broadcast at the Nordschleife on the Grand Prix configuration. My apologies there, but that's going to be a lot of stuff to look forward to. Formula V is going to be returning once again at Donington Park. XSLR after this week will be at Road America, and SRG F4 going to be running at Monza with rain. I have to have that enunciation there.
And Monza by itself is not bad enough.
Oh yeah, that actually I think last season I was in the production booth for that. We had Monza in the rain, and we're gonna have Monza in the rain this time, and I'm also going to be in the production booth for that one. And to round off the year, much like how we started it, the first broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting in the year of 2025 was the Sim Racers Group F4 series at Mugello. I was on that broadcast, and it was the first SRG show here on SMB, and rounding off the year with Sim Racers Group F3 action at the Hockenheim Ring to ring in 2026. So a lot of reasons to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on the racing action, and hit the like button on the stream as well if you really enjoyed. And if you want to support us, you can through donations and super chats here on these broadcasts. But as for this broadcast here tonight for round number 2 and group number 2 and the entirety of 2025 for the Ray Esports Club Racing League, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.